Hey y'all, I'm excited to finally be here and to do this with y'all. I've been meaning to do this for the longest, to go out and come on YouTube and to share my testimony and to share my life experiences because God has moved me in amazing directions that I can't explain. But just quickly, I'm just gonna jump right into it. My name is Javarn Shannon. I'm a new YouTuber on YouTube. This is my first video. I'm recording it on my iPhone 7. Um, but nevertheless, nothing's gonna stop me from giving God the glory with whatever situation that I am in now. God is going to provide for me and for you guys. So don't be discouraged. Um, but let me start with my testimony. So the first thing I'm gonna tell you guys is my testimony of how God came into my life. And this may be a little long, uh, but I'm gonna try to keep it short for you guys. But I'm not gonna, shy away from what God did. Um, so pretty much, I started off. My family, they started going to church because my grandfather and my grandmother they ran the church here in Atlanta, Georgia, and they're from Africa, Liberia. But they came to America and they started a church, and the whole family used to go to their church. Um, but eventually, that was from probably like I was the age of 7 years old. Um, and so we started going to church, and my grandfather he went back to Africa, and somebody else started pastoring the church, and then after my grandfather left, and everybody stopped trying to go, and he wasn't a pastor anymore, and for years and years and years, my family just fell out the church. And my grandmother, she stayed in her word, and every time we would go visit her, she would pull out her Bible, and we would just get into the word. We would just pray, or she would make sure we'll see her on prayer calls, and she has an orphanage in Liberia called Trinity Children. You guys should check that out. It's a really good mission. They're doing a lot of great work, and yeah, like we just stopped going to church for years. Like from I remember from like the age 7, 8, probably to like high school. Like we would go to church probably on New Year's. What I'm saying, we do a little countdown. But my family wasn't going to church. We'd go to church here and there. Some Sundays we'd just pop up and be like, "Oh, we're going to church." But other than less, like we just wasn't going. Um, but eventually, like in high school, uh, and in probably like the ninth grade, um, my family took me because my cousin was going, took me to this camp called Camp Sedan. Camp Sedan is a Bible camp in Tennessee. So I went there during the summertime, and I want to say, man, that experience changed my life for the most. Like, I because I was never in church, and I went to the worst. Like, I wouldn't say the worst school in DeKalb, but I went to Stone Mountain High School, which is a really bad school. And but at the moment, it's getting a little better though. Um, but when I went to this camp, I seen kids my age, what I'm saying, who were genuinely Christian, and they just wasn't like doing all the right things, but what I'm saying, they 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 looked like me. They what I'm saying, they prayed, and they had a relationship with God. Like you can see it in them. Like when the word it says like you know who is of me by their fruit. I know who is of him by their fruit, and it was like the first time in a long time that I've seen genuine Christians that I could relate to that was my age. Never seen that before. Um, so I started hanging out with them. I felt love that I never felt before in my home. There was a lot of fighting. My parents didn't really get along for a long time, and there was a lot of like verbal abuse. Um, and what I'm saying, they're African, so like those arguments are not like quiet. They're really loud. Um, and sometimes like the kids got forgotten about because there was so many problems in the house. My dad worked a lot. My mom worked a lot, and like what I'm saying, and when everybody was around each other, it was just arguing. So we, I kind of shied away. But in camp, the they loved each other. You know what I'm saying? Like it was the correct way. And something in me just knew that was the way it was supposed to be. Um, and at that moment I started to realize myself like I'm a sinner, like you know what I'm saying, through the word and through reading the word, and I realized that I was a sinner, that my life wasn't really good, that I was doing some really bad things. Before that I started smoking a lot, because I was hanging around with friends that were up to no good. And and even though I was a good child within me, but I just had this desire to do so many bad things. Um, but when I was there, all of that came out. It's like the word and the spirit put all that on the surface. And I was no longer surrounded by darkness, but I was surrounded by light. And I could see that. And what light does is exposes darkness. And I had no room to hide. And and I came face to face for the first time in my life with my sins. And I believe at the camp, this seed was planted in my heart. Um, Eventually, I left the camp and I came back home. And when you leave somewhere like that, it's great, but you eventually go back to the same friends that you left in the first place. Um, and at that moment, like those friends that I left were not the best of friends. Like they were they were bad. They were still smoking. They were still doing this. So I tried in the beginning to shy away from them, but eventually, like it caught up. Like you know what I'm saying. You want to be antisocial, social for a little bit, but eventually you're like, what are you doing? Like what's wrong? Like why are you acting like that? Why are you acting lame? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Um, but I pretty much like I started doing the same things that I was doing before. But that seed, like the conviction in my heart, it never left. Like that seed was always there. Like something in me just knew that I wasn't doing the right thing. Even though I became worse as I got a little older, and hanging out with worser people, but like that seed was still there. Like it never felt. Um, so, uh, but I started back smoking. I started back hanging around the wrong crowds. I was never in the gang, but there was always so many gang members around me. Um, uh, and but I started going to this church. Um, and at the moment, like you know what I'm saying, as I just started feeling so bad. I was like, I need to go to church. So I started going to this church. I started attending, and you know what I'm saying, the word was being presented, and I was digesting it. Um, I wasn't really being discipled, but God just had a hold of my heart. So this is cool. Long story. Not a long story. This is cool. So I started working at Publix, and it was just one night where I just felt so sick of my sins. I felt so sick. Like at this church, I tried to put on this religious cloak when I was around them, but when I wasn't around them, I'll go back to the dirts of this world. And like, I remember feeling so sick. And I said, God, when I was in camp, like, those people, like, it feels like their lives were changed. Like, it was something different. And this is me without the word. Like, I never really, like, read the word for myself. But eventually I knew that when you give your life to Christ, you become a new creature. And at that moment, I didn't. I just seen his goodness. And that's where a lot of people stop. They acknowledge him and they see him, but they don't allow him to come into their hearts and to change them. Um, and I started to notice that, and it started to prick me. And I was at work one day, and I just cried out. Um, and God eventually answered. Uh, but before He answered, uh, I I was dating at the time. I was dating a girl. Her name was Alma. and like we had a really good relationship. Everything was cool. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of fussing though, but uh, eventually, like we was hanging out. We just got off work because we worked together too. We went back to her house because I was driving. I was dropping her off, and and I told her I was just like, today, man, it's just not really good. I just feel so bad. Let me go on a walk. I'm gonna go on a walk, and I'm gonna come back and we can talk or whatever. But like, I just need to walk and take a breathe. And she let me go, and I left and I started walking, and I walked over to this park, and in this park, like, dude, I'm gonna let you guys know. You guys don't know me yet, but I'm afraid of rats. I'm afraid of rodents. I'm afraid of anything that crawls, anything that creeps at night. I'm afraid of all that. Like, that's not no. I ain't never going like. I'll pick up like a gerbil or something like that, but I'm never picking up like a. I'm never touching the like no no. But at that moment at the park, I got down on my knees and I started to pray, like on the ground, like at the park, like where I knew like rats and rodents could come. Um, but I didn't care. Like I wanted God. That's how bad I wanted Him. And so I got on the ground and started to pray. I started to pray. I started to cry out. I said, God, you know what I'm saying, come into my heart. You know, I really, no, I didn't ask him to come to my, I was just like, God, I really want to know you. I really want my life to be changed. God, you know what I'm saying? I want to know you. Like, I just don't want to say that I follow you. Like, I want you to be in my heart and this and that. And I started to cry out, God, please. I prayed loud. I prayed quiet. I prayed intimate. I prayed fast. Like, I tried it all. I tried every last style of prayer. And when I got up, nothing happened. And I was confused. I said, God, I prayed to you and nothing happened. I felt like I got up the same way I went down. Um, but eventually, a week later, um, I did an overnight at Publix, and I got off for work, and my heart was still heavy. Well, it wasn't heavy, but when I got off work, my heart started getting heavy again. Um, and I just remember like God, God was just pulling at my heart, and I was on my way to go home. And it was a Sunday, but I was like, no, I'm going straight to church. And I started going, and I just left. I just went straight to church. But it was super early, so I was in my work clothes, in my Publix uniform. Shouts out to Publix. Um, and I just went to sleep. And I remember like, cause it was like seven, church didn't start until like nine something. And like, so I went to sleep, and I woke up, and like the music was banging, and like it was pumping, and I was just outside in the car asleep. Nobody woke me up to say, "Come inside." Why did you sleep in the car? But eventually, I woke up and I went into church, and and I sat down, and like people like they, I honestly I didn't know what the pastor was saying because I was so consumed of getting like I wanted God, and what was pulling my heart is, you need to give your life to Christ. And I knew I never did that. And if I did, I knew it wasn't from my heart. It was from my mouth and from my brain. But um I just wanted God's love. I wanted God to reveal himself to me. So I surrendered. I didn't know what else to do. But anyways, I didn't hear anything the pastor was saying until the altar call. Um, I did the altar call, and I went up. And people were shocked. They thought I was Christian. They thought because I've been coming to the church for a little bit, they thought like, you know what I'm saying, I was already saved, but I knew in my heart that I wasn't. The word says in 1 Corinthians that we have to examine ourselves to know if we have right standings with God. A lot of people don't know that. But at that moment, I examined myself, and I was like, no, like my standing with God is really poor. And I gave my life, and Uh, I haven't cried. At that moment, I didn't cry. My parents used to fuss a lot, so I remember this one day in my room, my parents were upstairs fussing, and I told myself that, and I remember I said, I'm not crying anymore. Like, it's no point of crying for people that you love who don't love you back, because if they did, it would change. But God pushed it and twisted it around and was like, no, like, I love you, and I want to change your heart. Not because you're perfect, not because you're anybody, but because I love you. That's why I sent my son. Accept me. And I accepted him. And tears started to fall. I started to cry for the first time in years. Tears started to fall. I started to cry. I was crying at my pastor's feet. Everybody was shocked. I was screaming. I said, God, I give you all. I give you all of me. I give you everything. I don't want any of this. I just want you. And when I got up, I felt different. I felt different. My desires were not the same. My heart was not the same. God changed me. And at the moment, I love sin, but I started to hate sin. And people don't give their life to Christ because they're scared at their current stage to hate sin, because they love sin at the moment. They don't want to hate sin. They love smoking. They love drinking. They love turning up. But you guys don't know Jesus. Don't get deceived by the devil. The devil wants you to go to hell. He wants you to not know him. But God, he wants you to go to heaven. Um, and that's just like a little bit of my testimony. Like, God is so powerful. And I'll give you guys a follow up. This is just the first video of just how 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 I gave my life to Christ. But I'll post more about like what else God is like, because now God has just took me on a journey. There's just so many stories I could tell you guys. But that's just it for now. I just pray that just through my testimony that it is encouraging. Again, my name is Javon Shannon. This is part of an organization that I started called Christ Global, where we want to Christ Global is nothing but a mission in a name, that we want to share the love of Christ around the globe. Um, and I want you guys to be a part of it. I want you guys to help me out. I want you guys to go on Instagram at ChristGlobal360.com. At ChristGlobal360. That's my Instagram. Type it in, follow me, keep posted, stay informed, help out. You know what I'm saying? We go out and we serve the community. And when I post things, like, reach out to me. Like, I want to meet you guys. I want a relationship with you guys. I want you guys to see Christ within me and see the light that he has given me and the light that he has given you guys as well. I want you guys to manifest that and don't be afraid to shine it. But that's it for today. Follow me on Instagram. Again, at Christ Global 360. No, spelled correct. I know people like spell things differently, but spell it correct, and you're gonna find me. But I'm excited, and I'll talk to you guys another time. Alrighty. God bless.